So at this point, I think I have to say something about the situation with Ghislaine Maxwell in particular, because this came up at Donald Trump's Tuesday coronavirus press briefing. And Trump again was just caught in another apparent lie to the point where I'm increasingly convinced that Trump is scared of what Ghislaine Maxwell may reveal. Anthony Scaramucci believes that that's exactly what's going on. And so we're going to go through it. So just to reset. Jeffrey Epstein was arrested and charged with multiple counts of sex trafficking and assaulting young girls. This video will now be demonetized because I mentioned his name, unfortunately, but we've got to talk about this. This has been known for a long time. There's documentaries now about Jeffrey Epstein. It's been widely explored, documented. He was ultimately found dead in his jail cell of a reported suicide. His girlfriend, maybe ex-girlfriend, whatever, alleged groomer and trafficker of women and girls, Ghislaine Maxwell, who was out of the public eye for some time, but has since been arrested a few weeks ago. Now, there are widespread pictures from the last 20 plus years and videos of Donald Trump together with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, including with Melania Trump, without Melania Trump over the years. There's video we once looked at of Trump and Epstein at a party. I believe it was in the late 90s. Trump and Epstein together sort of watching and discussing different young women who were dancing in front of them. Might have been the early 2000s. The point is widespread connections between Trump and Epstein. Now, Donald Trump was asked about Maxwell on Tuesday, and Trump wished her well, which is a really weird thing to say about an alleged sex trafficker, given the number of alleged victims. But Trump also mentioned something about Prince Andrew, which you may find interesting. So let's take a look at that clip.
Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison, and a lot of people want to know if she's going to turn in powerful people. And I know you've talked in the past about Prince Andrew, and you criticized Bill Clinton's behavior. I'm wondering, do you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men? How do you see that working out?
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well, whatever it is. I don't know the situation with Prince Andrew. Just don't know. Not aware of it.
So a lot of people are focusing on Trump saying he wishes her well. Arguably a wild thing to say, given that Ghislaine Maxwell is accused of grooming and trafficking in young girls and has left so many alleged victims in her wake. But the thing about, and we're going to talk about wishing her well in a moment, but the thing about Prince Andrew is particularly interesting because once again, Trump claims total ignorance. Prince Andrew and Epstein, I don't know anything about that. But we have video. Check out this video from February of 2015. This is when Donald Trump was getting ready to run for president. In this clip, he says he's about 80% certain he's going to run for president. And it sure seemed like Trump knew a lot about Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew in this clip. Take a look.
You raised the question of Jeffrey Epstein in your remarks about in the Q&A.
Well, I think he's got a problem. I mean,
what do you think the problem will be?
I don't know, but that island was really a cesspool. There's no question about it. Just ask Prince Andrew. He'll tell you about it. The island was an absolute cesspool. So,
the Clintons are friends
and he's
of
been
yours,
there
right?
for many times.
The Clintons are friends
well,
of
I
yours.
can't say friends, but I know
You're
them.
friendly. You know them.
They play at my clubs a lot. I have clubs, and everybody likes to play
Are you
at my
saying
clubs.
there's a
Trump knows about the island, and he says Prince Andrew specifically is the guy you want to talk to. And he even kind of gives a weird kind of knowing look to one of the people sitting at that desk on camera. Says Prince Andrew can tell you about it. So clearly in 2015, Trump did think and know about a connection between Epstein and Prince Andrew. So there's a couple possibilities here. And of course, none of them are good. One is Trump is lying now. Trump lies all the time. This is what a lot of people suspect. And the idea is Trump has been intimately involved with Jeffrey Epstein, and he knows all about Prince Andrew. And now he's lying and saying, I don't know anything about Prince Andrew. But remember, there's a 13-year-old girl, then 13-year-old girl, who at one point accused Trump and Epstein of raping her in Epstein's Manhattan condo. That suit was since dropped. The other possibility is, again, one of Trump's cognitive decline. And you might have noticed that in the 2015 clip I played for you, Trump is obviously more articulate, more together than he is now. It's possible Trump has just lost all memory and he has no recollection of knowing about the Epstein-Prince Andrew connection. There have been allegations that say Trump regularly forgets things that happened 5 days ago, forgets things all the time. So either Trump is a liar and he knows everything that there is to know, or much of what there is to know about Prince Andrew and Epstein, or he's lost his memory. Neither inspires a lot of confidence. Now, I want to get to one other component of this, and that's what I'm going to talk about next. And that's the idea that when Trump says, I wish her well about Ghislaine Maxwell, you hear that, I hear that, it sounds weird. Why would he wish well to an alleged child sex trafficker? Anthony Scaramucci says that's code from Trump to Ghislaine Maxwell to shut up and not say a word about Donald Trump. So let's talk about that next. So the second part of the Trump Ghislaine Maxwell story is about what Trump meant by I wish her well. Now, I already laid out for you how on Tuesday at Donald Trump's coronavirus press briefing, he was asked about the arrest of Ghislaine Maxwell, the alleged groomer and trafficker of girls for Jeffrey Epstein. Trump bizarrely wished her well and then said he doesn't know anything about the connection between Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein. In the last segment, we focused on showing you in 2015, Trump certainly knew about the connection between Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein. Let's now talk about I wish her well. Take a look at this clip.
Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison, and a lot of people want to know if she's going to turn in powerful people. And I know you've talked in the past about Prince Andrew, and you criticized Bill Clinton's behavior. I'm wondering, do you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men? How do you see that working out?
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well, whatever it is. I don't know the situation with Prince Andrew. Just don't know. Not aware of it.
Now, a lot of people wrote to me saying, isn't it really weird that Donald Trump asked about someone accused of horrible crimes, right? Serial sex trafficking and grooming of young women and girls, wishing her well. That's weird. Well, of course it's weird. But Donald Trump is a weird guy. He has a different moral code than many of us have. But there's a different perspective from Donald Trump's former aide and very brief White House communications director, Anthony Scaramucci, who tweeted about this. And Scaramucci says Trump is wishing her well, not to wish her well. It's code for her not to talk. In other words, don't cooperate. Don't tell investigators what you know about Trump's activities, possible activities with Jeffrey Epstein. And Scaramucci tweeted in the morning earlier this week, quote, she has the goods on him. He is signaling, please don't talk. Now, of course, it's speculative, but also, of course, if indeed there's some connection that involves Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, there's no shortage of such allegations. Donald Trump has shown that he is very much willing to reward people who stay quiet with either pardons or commuting their sentences. If you believe that Trump wishing her well is a signal that she should stay quiet, there's really an implicit threat there, sort of like a mafia boss suggesting that the guy who got arrested hopefully is going to have good luck, right? Which means don't say a word. Donald Trump has used similar language to other associates who have been indicted. Michael Flynn, Roger Stone, Paul Manafort, he's talked about wishing them good luck, wishing them the best. I hope for the best for them. So there's a degree of speculation here. On the other hand, you could say, of course, that's what Trump is doing. And it's completely obvious. Like there are, on the one hand, there's people saying this is sort of speculative. On the other hand, there's people saying, clearly this is what Trump is doing. And that's exactly what he's signaling to her by saying, I wish her well. Now, to go back to the beginning and the sort of bizarre nature of Trump wishing well to a serial accused child sex trafficker, just imagine what would have happened if Barack Obama was asked about someone who had been accused of supplying underage girls for people to sexually assault, and Obama had said, I wish them well. Think just for a second about what Fox News and all right-wing media would have done for days if Barack Obama had done that. And you remember, this myth of the liberal media just instantly crumbles before our very eyes. So in terms of, do I expect we're going to get public news of any kind of allegation from Ghislaine Maxwell about Donald Trump before the election? I really don't. There is a contingent that believes the timing of this Ghislaine Maxwell thing is exactly so that in mid-September, late September, early October, there's just blockbuster allegations made about Donald Trump and his connection to Jeffrey Epstein. Part of why, listen, I don't know if there is such a plan. I actually don't know that it would make a difference at this point. Trump was accused before being elected president by 16, 20 women. Subsequently, in books that came out, that number went to 30, 40 something women who have accused Trump of different degrees of sexual assault up to and including rape. And Trump's approval and his polling started to suffer when he failed on coronavirus, when he failed on the economic response to coronavirus, when he responded to protests against police brutality by threatening to and actually sending in federal troops. So not only am I not sitting around waiting for that to happen in terms of Ghislaine Maxwell, I don't even know that it would make much of a difference. I think that the real issues continue to be the ones that people tell us they are. If you look at recent polling, the three issues hurting Trump are virus response, economic response, and response to the George Floyd protests / race relations. I don't even know that this is really what we need. More allegations from Ghislaine Maxwell. If she has them to make, she should make them and they should be reported on. But waiting for that as what's going to knock Trump out of office, his supporters have shown they don't care about that. And I think that that's the approach that we should have. If you disagree with me, let me know. I'm on Twitter at @dpakman. Also, remember that you can get the daily, every single weekday, Monday through Friday, daily audio podcast for free on any podcast app that you prefer. iTunes, beautiful. Spotify, available. Google Play Podcasts, have at it, Haas. The daily audio podcast typically released at 3 p.m. Eastern every day. We'll take a quick break and be back after this.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
The David Pakman Show depends on your support, and the easiest way is through membership, which includes the world-famous bonus show, as well as commercial-free audio and video streams of the show just for members. Sign up today at joinpakman.com. Coupon code saves you 40%. Vote soon 18.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Today's new members of the day are Lawrence Sparrow and Leslie Caluza. Lawrence and Leslie, thank you for your support. And also a big thank you to Anthony Petramala, who has been a member for 5 years, almost 5 years, and is today's longtime sustaining member of the day. Grab a membership. Don't be bashful at joinpakman.com. Coupon code 2020 now. This coupon code is so big, red state governors hate it. 2020 now saves you 66% off of membership. Let's go to the phones at 617-830-4750. Let's see if it's a good phones day or a bad phones day. 617-830-4750. Starting with our caller from the 516 area code. Who's calling today from 516?
Hey, is that me?
Yeah, who's this?
Hey, I'm Nick from New York.
Nick from New York. What's going on, my friend?
So I would like to know, what is the plan to stop Trump from suppressing the vote in November?
I wish I knew. I mean, listen, so there's a couple different things going on here. And it's like you've got the paramilitaries in Portland and soon likely to be other cities. Possibly they will remain to intimidate into November. You've got Trump trying to prevent vote by mail, which is really just expanding absentee ballots. You've got, all of the players that want to interfere in the election still plan to, Russia, possibly China, et cetera. I think the plan has to be we overwhelm the vote by so much that the interference doesn't matter. I mean, I hate to say it, but I don't know what the plan is, Nick.
That's a great idea, though. I mean, I hope it works. I hope we do get this president out of office because he's so incompetent.
Yeah. Are you, what state? So do you vote in New York?
I'm actually too young to vote. I'm 17.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Unfortunately.
If you could vote, though, you would not vote for Trump, it sounds like.
I would totally vote for Biden.
Got it. Okay. And so are you between high school and college right now, or are you about to be a senior?
I'm about to be a senior.
And are you going back for in-person or is it virtual classes?
I have no idea.
You still don't even know?
Yeah, I don't know yet.
What would you prefer?
Well, I'm okay with either one. Honestly, I'd rather go in person.
You would?
Safe.
And you'd wear what? You'd wear a mask? You'd be okay with it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do your parents have strong feelings one way or the other?
What'd you say?
Do your parents have a strong feeling about whether they want you physically in school?
I don't know. I would have to ask them.
Oh, all right. All right, Nick, very good. Glad you're paying attention to the voter suppression. It's going to be a big deal. I appreciate the call.
Thank you so much for taking it.
All right, take care. Nick from New York got right to the question. I love it. Let's go to area code 678. Who's calling today from 678?
Hi, David. This is JP from Marietta, Georgia. How are you?
JP, how are things in Georgia? I'm worried about you guys.
That's actually what I was calling about. I didn't have really a particular question besides just for your comment on the state of things.
Yeah.
I'm in the suburbs outside of Atlanta, and, we have got tons of cases, every day in Georgia.
Yep.
And I work at a music shop, and I'm back in the store. I mean, there's no any kind of mask mandate or anything, even for the employees, not for the customers, for anything.
Yeah.
It is just ridiculous. I'm restringing people's guitars that they're, bringing in, and there's no way really to sterilize them because they're instruments and you can't put disinfectant on them because
Right.
you ruin the wood. And I had, funny thing, I even restrung a guitar signed by Paul Ryan the other day. That was a fairly traumatic experience.
Imagine having a guitar and wanting Paul Ryan to sign it. That's crazy.
It had a Romney Ryan sticker on it, so I think it was part of a promotional giveaway or raffle or something like that.
So
But,
I'm hearing that
yes.
you're feeling unsafe at work, essentially. Like you're totally unprotected. People are coming in, they're handing instruments back and forth. You're not wearing a mask. They're not wearing masks.
Right. I mean, well, I do wear a mask every day.
Oh, you
because
do? Okay.
I, have got sense. I absolutely. It's just not required.
Yeah.
So I have more conservative bosses, and we're even back to doing our bread and butter is lessons, in-person lessons, and we have been doing private lessons in the store for a while as well, myself included.
Wow. And
that's,
now was the store at one point closed when things were more shut down?
Yeah, we shut down from January to March or thereabout. And, once Georgia, opened back up, we came back in, full force, but kept our lessons online for a few months.
Yeah.
And starting in June, completely ignoring all the numbers, starting in June, we just decided to let people start coming back in for in-person lessons.
And do the owners or your boss or whoever, I don't know what the structure is, do they even talk about preventing the spread of the virus, or is it just like we're open for business, that's it?
We have bought air purifiers, and we've got stations with hand sanitizer, and we've got cute little signs that say stay 2 guitars apart. But other than that, not really.
Wow. Well, I mean, that's something. I don't know. And let me ask you this. I have a couple friends down in Georgia, but I've not asked them about this. In general, like when you go to the grocery store, when people are out, is there increasingly the atmosphere that things are just normal, or are people overall exhibiting any kind of caution?
It's really hard to say. I mean, it's really split, just like, a good bit of, everybody is, with, the people saying, I'm not going to be a sheep.
Yeah.
And, masks are make you not a man. And then, the other half of people seem like they're taking it seriously. And the school system seemed to be having a problem with this as well. Cobb County, where I am, said they were going to come back in full force, and then people got mad, and then they said they're going to all virtual, and now people are mad at that. So I don't know what they're going to end up doing.
Well, listen, I don't envy you. That sounds very, very tough. And the Georgia numbers are not looking good. All we can, listen, at this point, I don't even know what we're hoping for. We're hoping for a treatment. We're hoping for a vaccine. We're hoping for some common sense and the removal of Trump. But we're going to have some tough months ahead of us. I think it's undeniable.
We are indeed.
Yeah.
And well, I have the opportunity. I want to thank you very much for your work, especially your live streams and everything. I'm glad you're having good success with those. They're a good, informative way to keep up with the lies that Trump and MAGA Nanny and everybody are spreading. So
thank you.
so
I
much
really
for all your
appreciate
work.
that. Thanks for calling in. Great to hear from you. Let's go next to our caller from the 402 area code. Caller from 402, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, David. It's William from Omaha, Nebraska.
William from Omaha, the Oracle of Omaha is how we're going to put you into our system.
Okay. Yeah, my question was actually about an election that's going on in Nebraska right now. So there's the Democratic primary winner for the U.S. Senate is Chris Jasinick, and he's recently screenshots have come out of him making crude sexual jokes to his campaign staff. And the Nebraska Democrats have voted to replace him with Alicia Shelton. But since Jasinick already won the primary, he has to step down.
Right.
There have been petitions to call him to end his campaign. And my question was, do you think there's any chance that he actually steps down since he already won the primary? Because I definitely don't want to vote for his opponent, Ben Sasse.
I have no idea. Now, is Ben Sasse cruising to re-election regardless?
It's kind of, I'm not sure. He's the incumbent right now.
Yeah.
And he's popular in my area. It's kind of hard to judge from Omaha.
I mean, let me put it this way.
I've
not read anything about that seat being one of the ones Democrats could take. Is that fair to say? It's not ripe for the picking for a Republican to lose?
Well, yeah, but Nebraska is also kind of a toss-up state now. We used to lean Republican, but in the more recent polls, we're getting more and more blue. So if there's, in my opinion, if he doesn't step down, I would think that it would be for sure that Ben Sasse would get reelected.
Yeah, I'm not able to find any polling. I mean, listen, I don't think there's any way to force this guy to step down. I really don't know about the messages. I don't know about the race. I really don't know anything about it, but I'm not aware of any way to force him to step down. And I guess the reason I was asking about whether it would be close or not is if Ben Sasse is going to win either way, maybe that figures into the calculation, but I really just don't know enough about it to say.
Okay. Well, thanks for your time, David. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate the phone call. Let's go to our caller from the 832 area code. Who's calling today from 832?
Hi, David. Is this me?
Yes, it is.
All right. Thanks for picking up my call. And I know you're not a historian, David, but this election to you, do you think it's just an unprecedented election, or do you see any similarities between this election, any previous election you've lived through or in history?
So in terms of similarities, I'm less clear. What I can tell you is it's the most important election I will be voting in. And earlier in the week, I gave this example of, in 2012, when Barack Obama had been in for 4 years, we were in the middle of an economic recovery. Mitt Romney was running against Barack Obama. And he didn't really have a great case as to why you should even really vote for him. And he's going to lower taxes for rich people. And he had some, different ideas about the direction he wanted to take healthcare. And of course, socially, Romney was much more conservative. But I said, leading up to that election, I believe Barack Obama is the better candidate, and I believe Barack Obama has earned a second term. But it was not the most important election in that most likely the economy was going to probably do well between 2013 and 2017, regardless of whether it was Romney or Obama. This is a very different situation where our ability to recover from 4 years of Trump is dramatically more plausible than recovering from 8 years of Donald Trump. And so in terms of its unprecedented nature, this is without a doubt the most important election I will be voting in.
Interesting. And I'm guessing that in 2016, that at the time, that was the most important election you'd be voting in, but this has superseded it.
What's crazy is there was a large, let me back up. There was a group of people on the left who in 2016 was saying, this doesn't feel that important. I mean, corporate corrupt Hillary versus Trump. I don't care if it's not going to be Bernie. It doesn't make it. Look at how consequential the 2016 election was. Consider how different things would be on the virus today if it had been Hillary Clinton rather than Donald Trump. And so I believe that there were a lot of people who didn't think 2016 was that important. In retrospect, we know that that was very, very wrong.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I definitely agree. And yeah, with Hillary, I think the approach to the virus would have been probably the antithesis.
Absolutely. And it would have been not about Hillary. It would have been about doctors, whereas now it's all about Trump and Trump's fights with doctors and et cetera. If it had been Hillary, it would have been much less about fireworks. It would have been, we're having doctors run this. We're having doctors make decisions because that's who should be doing it, public health officials.
Yeah, she would have been a good administrator in the sense of delegating tasks to people who know what to do. Yeah. Thanks for taking my call, David.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for the call. We're going to take a brief break, but if you're holding, don't hang up. That's my advice, because I'm going to go right back to the phones after this short break.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
The David Pakman Show depends on the support of our viewers and listeners, and one way to keep us going is through Patreon, where you can pledge as little as $1 per month or as much as you want at patreon.com/David Pakman Show. Great perks and benefits as well. Read about them.
Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
The phone lines are on fire right now. You should see the phone bill I'm about to get. Let's go back to the phone lines at 617-830-4750. Let's check in with Dontel from Florida. Last time when Dontel called in, we went to Dontel and the line was dead. But I'm glad to see that Dontel is back. What's going on with you?
Hey, so I wanted to talk about kind of the direction of the left-wing movement in the country.
Sure.
So a lot of people on the left, myself included, made the calculation a while ago that the best strategy to get social democratic policies implemented would be by taking over the Democratic Party.
Okay.
Like with groups like Justice Democrats, Our Revolution. But now that we're in a pandemic, unprecedented economic crisis, we're literally in a political reality that no one could have ever expected or anticipated. So, and the elected progressives, they failed miserably. They've got no major policy wins. And by their own admission, they don't even plan on getting like important policies like Medicare for All, UBI, debt and rent cancellation for at least 4 years, maybe even longer than that. So how effective do you think the progressive takeover of the Democratic Party has been? And do you think that the majority of the country that was already living on the brink before the all of this happened, do you think that they can go another 4 years without Medicare for All or UBI or rent cancellation?
So, I mean, there's a lot of questions in there, Dontel. The first thing is, did you say something about canceling everyone's rent for 4 years? Everybody lives rent-free for 4 years?
Or at least government subsidized.
Okay, yeah, I've not even heard that proposed. Who proposed that?
Yeah, that's the thing. Nobody's proposing it. But
you want it. I'm sorry. You want rent canceled for 4 years.
There, by all estimates, at least 28 million or 23 million people are expected to be evicted by October.
Yes.
So this is as a result of the pandemic and economic crisis. And neither of them are going anywhere anytime soon.
Right.
So it does make sense to cancel rent or at least have government subsidized rent for the duration of the crisis.
Okay. Yeah. I think 4 years is a non-starter, and I don't think the crisis is going to last 4 years. I hope.
I didn't say 4 years. I said they think that the elected progressives, their plan isn't to get any Medicare for All or UBI or anything like that for at least 4 years till they have some sort of supermajority, I guess.
Oh, I misunderstood you, Dontel. I'm sorry. You weren't proposing canceling it for 4 years. You were saying there's not going to be any proposal to do it for the 4 years that Joe Biden would be president. I think now I understand you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So listen, progressive takeover, the progressive takeover of the Democratic Party. I think that a lot of this is about managing expectations. And I know you and I, Dontel, have had our differences over the time that you've been calling in. But, and this may be one of them, my perspective is that the progressive takeover you would like to see may not be in line with what most Democratic voters actually want. And what I would point to is that Biden really won the primary, not by a little, but really by quite a bit. I mean, he was up 2 million votes at the point at which Bernie kind of started to white flag. And so I'm coming at it from a different approach, which I'm obviously glad to hear how you disagree with it. But my approach is Joe Biden said that he would use the Green New Deal as a framework for his climate plan. And he has to a great degree. And in fact, there were Bernie supporters who were mad that he copied stuff from Bernie on climate. It's like, that's good. I want him copying stuff from Bernie on climate. In terms of his tax plan, it's a far more progressive tax plan than what Barack Obama wanted. And if it becomes a reality, it would be a significant incremental step. I mean, eliminating stepped up basis and capital gains, a lot of different things. So we might have different expectations, and that's okay. I want to work together with folks with your perspective, Dontel. But I think that when we talk about a progressive takeover, we're probably talking about two different things. And as you're defining it, we're not going to see it under Joe Biden. That's for sure. Are we going to see the most progressive platform of any president in history if Biden is elected, right? Not platforms that have been proposed, but of an actual office holder? That's what Biden would be if he wins.
I hear what you're saying about that. And to the first point that you made about the Democratic Party, the voters in the Democratic Party aren't as left as myself, or as I think that they are. I strongly disagree with that. If you look at the exit polls from basically every state in the primary, Medicare for All was in the majority. And that was even before we had a public health crisis, like a deadly global pandemic.
Yep.
So I think that it's not a matter of the voters. I think it's not working in the Democratic Party.
That may be. Now, Dontel, can I just push back a little bit about what you said? So I want to make sure I understand what you said.
Yeah.
You said you believe that the Democratic Party actually is as left as you believe it to be. And as evidence, you said that the exit polls showed a majority want Medicare for all. Did I understand you correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. So the polls I've looked at do show a slight majority of support for Medicare for all in the Democratic Party when no information is given. But as more information is given about how it would work, the support goes down to the low 40s, high 30s. So I may be looking at different data than you, but I don't know that that's the proof you're necessarily looking at.
I'm not sure I agree with that because of the way that a lot of people frame it, like certain posters, when they ask the question, they ask it they frame it in a way like, do you want to kick everybody in the country off their private health insurance?
Yeah, but I'm not talking about those polls. No, I know those are push polls and those are not trustworthy. But there's good data. Like, for example, there's a great PowerPoint from the Kaiser Family Foundation, which has nothing to do with Kaiser Permanente. It just happens to both be called Kaiser. And they don't do that. And they show that as people learn more about what Medicare for All entails, support does go down to about 38, 39%.
Okay, I hear you, David. And so one last thing, because I feel like we could never have enough time to finish these conversations.
Sure.
I have a small YouTube channel. It's called Unapologetic, and I have about like 2,600 subscribers. And so I was just wondering if you would like to have me on the show to do like an interview or a segment or something that we could talk about some of these issues in more detail.
Well, you're on the show right now, Dontel. You're one of our most frequent callers. You've been on so much.
Yeah, but I feel like it's so pressure to try to get all the points that I want to make into half of a 6-minute segment. So I was just wondering if I could do a long segment. But
let's think about that when things calm down a little. Right now, I'm not. Let's explore that when things calm down a little. How about that?
I hear you, but okay. I appreciate when you let me call into the show and you taking my calls for over a year now. So thank you.
All right, Dontel. Dontel from Florida. There he is. He speaks for himself. I don't have to say anything else about it. Let's go to a caller from the 413 area code, a very special area code back in the original stomping grounds of the David Pakman Show in Western Massachusetts. 413. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hello, David. I am a new viewer. I've been watching probably for about 6 to 8 months now.
Okay.
My name's Jordan.
Jordan, and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Western Massachusetts, as you told, a little town called Ludlow.
Ludlow, incredible.
Next to Springfield.
Ludlow known for, what is Ludlow known for? Large Portuguese population.
Yes, and our fantastic high school soccer team, yes.
And the soccer team, that's exactly right. All right, what's going on today? And if you can, try to keep the phone just a little further from your mouth just so you don't come in so hot.
Yep, you got it.
Beautiful.
So my question is, what do you think the tipping point was for the sudden change in rhetoric from Trump regarding coronavirus? Was it the new campaign manager? It obviously wasn't the Tulsa rally. Was it the backlash for the fire to Fauci? Retweets. What do you think the tipping point was?
I think it's desperation. I think at this point, so it's possible that removing Brad Parscale as the manager and bringing on that guy, Bill Stepien, I think his name is, it's possible that Stepien said, listen, I will do it, but you've got to listen to me. And what you're referring to for people who didn't see it is earlier this week when Trump restarted the coronavirus press briefings, he did the first one on Tuesday. He came out and talked about how in favor he is of masks. Trump said it may get worse before it gets better, rather than constantly telling us that it's about to go away. A very notable change in rhetoric. I think it's desperation. I think at this point, Trump sees the polling. He publicly says it's fake polling. I think he knows that it's real polling. And this is his last shot. He's realizing people start voting in 6 weeks. The coronavirus is going to be here for some time. The vaccine is not going to be widely available before the election, and he needs to try something else. What he's done so far hasn't worked. I think he's a desperate, cornered, scared man. The paramilitaries in Portland are part of it, try to create some confrontations to make protesters look bad. Maybe that'll help. And new rhetoric. It's desperation, and I don't know whose idea it was, but clearly someone got to him and said, you've got to take a new approach.
I would like to think that in a more sane world, that the scientific backlash, and especially from the CDC, Fauci and Redfield, that they're actually sticking up for Fauci, and that maybe, just maybe, he would have listened to that. But obviously it has everything to do with re-election chances.
Everything that's happening right now is about re-election. And Trump's gambit was reopen schools, reopen businesses, reopen everything. Hope that it doesn't get bad right away so that things are okay enough in October that people vote to re-elect Trump. Clearly, it's not happening. And the numbers have gone the opposite direction. So he's trying the next thing, and it is all about getting reelected. We'll see if it works.
Yeah, I guess like the last example I would offer up is, do you think that there's some internal charts, or I'm sorry, I'm forgetting like the
internal polling,
the scientific word. No, not polling, but charts that are showing the projected death rate that is to come in August, October, September, and November.
Oh, certainly. And I mean, listen, some of those are public, and they're talking about, I think it's in the range of, reaching anywhere from 210 to 260,000 deaths if things continue to accelerate. And I'm sure that the White House has all that data.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you for your time, David.
All right. Appreciate the phone call. Thank you very much. Great to hear from you. Let's go next to our caller from the 385 area code. Who's calling today from 385?
Hi, David. This is Laura from Somerville, Mass.
Laura in Somerville. Laura, tell me.
Yeah, I had a Massachusetts question for you.
Let me ask you something. What's going on with my favorite Somerville cafe, Diesel Cafe? I obviously have not been there since the start of the pandemic. Are they doing okay?
I think so. I think they're just doing a lot of just takeout.
Got it. Okay, well, I hope to get back there when things normalize.
Yeah. So my question is about if you're following the primary race here in Massachusetts, the Kennedy, Markey, and kind of what your thoughts on that race are.
So listen, I have friends that are working on both campaigns, the re-election campaign for Ed Markey and the challenge campaign for Kennedy. And I have to tell you, I am very strongly leaning towards Markey. It's not obvious to me that Kennedy is, some progressive hero of any kind. He strikes me as relatively establishment. I don't know that there's much benefit to replacing a senior senator with someone who would be the lowest on the totem pole in a legislative body like the Senate, where seniority matters so much. I believe that the debate was very bad for Kennedy, and Markey did very well. So I'm just not seeing, if I want to make a change, it needs to be super clear to me that we're making a change for the better. And I'm not at all convinced of that right now.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of where I've been at. I've lived here for 10 years, and since I moved here, I mean, Markey has always seemed to be on the right side of things from a progressive standpoint. So just curious where you were with that. So
the other thing that I've not loved about the Kennedy ads is this idea that it's his time, sort of just making an age case where like he's younger than Markey, and it's in now to replace older Democrats with younger Democrats. And that I don't find that to be particularly good reasoning, particularly when you're talking about, again, losing the seniority that Ed Markey has. So that I've been a little turned off by those ads.
Right. Well, and also kind of that idea of something new when he's a Kennedy. Like, let's not forget that part of it.
That's a fair point as well. Yeah. And I don't care so much about that, but I think that that's a reasonable point as well. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, thanks.
All right. Thank you for the call.
Fan, so thanks a lot.
Hope to be back up in Somerville soon. Appreciate it. Thank you. Let's see if we can hear from our caller from the 206 area code. Who's calling today from 206?
Is that me?
Yes, it is.
Hello?
Yes, that's me.
Yes, this is the misanthropic curmudgeon from Seattle.
Okay. Can you maybe just don't quite yell so much into the phone, and I think we're going to hear you fine.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's better.
Okay. I actually had a couple statements and then a question.
Okay.
The first statement is that thanks to Trump, I think we now officially live in that S-hole country between Canada and Mexico.
Right.
And my other statement is that I believe a free country should be founded on integrity and empathy with 4 fundamental foundations of no harm, no take, no betrayal, and no destruction.
Okay.
That being said, what is our breaking point with this unconstitutional criminality that we are compelled to do something next level to take our country back?
Wait, so which unconstitutional criminality are you referring to?
Well, just in general, with the corporations not paying taxes, Mitch McConnell not pushing through voter protections, and the list is endless.
Okay, I mean, I think the answer is different
with the Portland federal agent. I mean, how much more will we endure this tyranny before it collapses?
Well, so what do you want to do about it? Tell me what's your plan?
Well, I'd like to see national initiatives where we actually hear from the people on what they want on a national level instead of state by state.
Okay. And then what kind of actions would you like to see? Are you talking about mass rallies, mass call-outs from work, strategic defaults? What are you thinking of?
Well, my understanding of the way the country is supposed to work is we elect people to represent us, but what has happened in essence is we are electing people to overlord over us. And that's, I think, the fundamental problem is we don't have a representative government. The government does whatever it wants, and we just have to take it.
Well, we can vote in someone else, right? We could vote in someone else.
Except that once you get someone in, as in the case of Trump, then he's there. What he does, he's duly elected this and due process that, but he's erased all of that with his contemptuous, unconstitutional, tyrannical behavior.
Well, we've got to remove him in 3 months then, right?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
We've got to remove him in 3 months then, for sure.
Yes, but there's still the residual of the Mitch McConnells, the Steve Mnuchin.
Absolutely,
and
absolutely.
all the rest of it.
Well, listen, check out my video, Trumpism Doesn't End When Trump Leaves, because that's exactly the heart of what I'm getting at. Listen, I appreciate the call. I think your questions, you're asking some big questions. They may be even too big for me. But I think you're thinking about a lot of the right things. Thanks to everybody who called in. And as always, I apologize. I'm not able to take every phone call. We're going to take a break, and we will be back right after this.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Whether you're looking for David Pakman Show coffee for your Chemex or French press, or a David Pakman Show t-shirt. It's all available on our website, shipping to anywhere in the world at davidpakman.com/gear. Don't miss the bumper stickers too. davidpakman.com/gear.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Okay, let's get into audience questions for the week. A lot of very sort of similar. It's clear what the audience is thinking about, and I understand why. First question is, David, what do we do if Donald Trump refuses to accept election results? So there's two different ways that accept can be interpreted. He refuses to accept them in that he claims it was rigged, but he's still leaving, or he refuses to accept it in that he's going to try to stay in the White House. Now, I want to again restate, most likely we don't have to do anything because Donald Trump, if he loses in November, come January 21st, will simply not be the president. He's just not the president anymore. Now, for me, the biggest concern is Trump rigging the election and winning. I think that's a bigger concern than him not accepting the results, but let's play it out. We see Trump undermine democracy. He jokes about staying in power a long time. He says to Chris Wallace on Sunday, this past Sunday, he's not yet ready to commit to accepting the results. So now there are articles being published about what we would have to do if that was the case. And most of them say, well, we would have to mobilize. Listen, you and I aren't removing Donald Trump. It's ultimately going to depend on the systems that we have. So from a practical standpoint, the most likely scenario is Trump is going to leave because on January 21st, he would not be president anymore if he loses the November election, and there would be a new president. And at that point, he would be trespassing in the Oval Office and he would be escorted out. But where I believe our efforts are better spent, because we ultimately can't control that, and I do trust that he will be removed if he physically tried to stay. What we can do is, it's only July. So we're better off doing what we can do to prevent vote rigging, making sure people aren't dropped from voter rolls and fighting that in court, as has been done, expanding absentee ballot access. I just filled out my absentee ballot application this week and plan to vote by mail, all of that stuff, because with all of these things, and this is going to come up again later in the segment, prevention is cheaper than the cure. If Trump tries to stay in office, I really don't know how he gets away with it. He won't be president anymore. Somebody else will be sworn in, and eventually he's going to be removed and he's not going to be the president. Am I that naive, right? I mean, it's like, are there people listening who really think that that's naive, that even something like that, like if Biden wins and he shows up ready for work with his lunchbox and everything, and Trump's there and he says, I'm not leaving, that's going to be allowed to happen? I don't believe that that's going to be allowed to happen. If you believe I'm wrong, I want to hear what the path would be. And I understand the fear, which is Trump has flouted every norm. He's, constitutional violations, emoluments, all of this different stuff. I get it. I still don't think that he is going to be able to stay. I actually think that Trump, the narcissist, if he loses, and this is a big if, and we don't want to put the cart before the horse, and we've got to vote and all of that I've been saying. I think if Trump loses, his narcissism will force him to essentially say, I didn't want it anyway, to essentially make it undesirable. When you have an extreme narcissist and you take away from them something that they want, what they typically do is they say, I didn't really want it, or I don't want it anymore, or it's not worth that much anymore. Let someone else have it. I'll make more money in real estate, etc. So that is more likely to me, if Trump loses, to basically say, I'm out, I'm better off going back to real estate. Good luck with Joe Biden or whatever, than trying to stay in power, because that's often how the narcissist works. Now, the authoritarian narcissist may try to stay in power, and Trump certainly has no shortage of authoritarian tendencies. But I believe if he loses, he will leave. Let's focus on preventing the election from being rigged against Biden. There we can do something. Hey, David, if Joe Biden manages to win Florida back from Trump, is it over for Donald Trump? So I understand why people are asking this. Florida is a big prize electorally. It's 29 electoral votes. And right now, Joe Biden is leading by an average of 6.4 in Florida. That's a range of anywhere from being tied in Florida to Biden plus 10 in Florida. The Real Clear Politics average in Florida right now is that Biden is up by 6.4. So let's start with just the simple mathematical case. If you start with the 2016 map where Trump won Florida, and the only change you make is you flip Florida to Biden, that is not enough for Joe Biden to win the presidency. Biden winning Florida and otherwise the map staying as 2016 would give Trump 277 still. You only need 270 to be president. So Florida alone will not help Joe Biden win. However, these elections rarely are completely isolated, where everything is the same as 2016, except one state flips. If Biden wins Florida, he probably is going to win something else, like, for example, Wisconsin, Michigan, or Pennsylvania. If Biden wins Florida back and Wisconsin, he wins. If Biden wins Florida back and Michigan, he wins. If Biden wins Florida and Pennsylvania back, he also wins. And even if Trump holds Florida, so Trump keeps Florida and keeps Ohio, Biden can still win by winning any two of the three states, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Now, of course, there's other opportunities for Joe Biden as well. Arizona is very much in play for Joe Biden. North Carolina is close. So in the mathematical sense alone, Florida only will not do it for Joe Biden. My belief is that if we see Joe Biden win in Florida, he will certainly win some other state that I mentioned. There's almost an exact analysis to be made in Ohio. The difference is Ohio's only 18 electoral votes, whereas Florida's 29. So if Biden flips Ohio, but not Florida, he still likely needs Ohio plus 2, unless it's a very high population state with more electoral votes. Now, in the end, we've got 50 elections. We can't control anything other than our one vote, and we have to make sure to use it. So when I look at these scenarios, every once in a while, I will look at 270towin.com is a great place where you can start with the 2016 map and say, okay, we start with 2016 and flip this or flip that. There's a bunch of different scenarios that have Biden winning. There's one scenario that has a tie. I believe it's 269, and a bunch of scenarios that have Trump winning. All I can do is vote. And so when I cast my ballot via absentee, which I've already requested in the state of Massachusetts, I will be doing it with the belief that this state could come down to my vote. It is mathematically unlikely to be that way, but every single one of us should say, would I vote if my vote could be the difference maker? Of course, your vote could be the difference maker, meaning, yes, you should vote, and we all need to make sure that we do. Okay, let's now go to the sort of third piece of this pie, which is Trump is losing in the polls, and Trump is getting more desperate, and what if Trump doesn't accept the results? Now let's actually explore what could happen that would give Trump a win. And there's two sides to this. There's the election tampering side, and there's the policy success side. Now, I'm going to be completely transparent with you here. I think it is all but too late for Trump to do anything on the policy side. The three major issues for voters, as per a new poll that we looked at earlier this week, the three major issues facing voters right now are, according to voters, coronavirus number one, the economy and unemployment number two, which is very much related to coronavirus, and George Floyd police race relations number three. Those three are very bad for Donald Trump. Economy is the best for Trump, although he's now even to underwater on economy. So what can Trump actually do that is just doing stuff politically to get support back? Another stimulus, which is now in the works, certainly could help in terms of, a vaccine. If a vaccine is finalized and goes widespread before November, it will have nothing to do with Trump. I mean, literally nothing. But Trump will try to take credit for it. And maybe some people would be convinced by that. The reality is the way things are going, best case scenario is there's some early doses for healthcare workers in the fall. and it may be after the November election anyway, not totally clear. If some super effective treatment is found, Trump could try to take credit for that. If through no fault of Donald Trump's, coronavirus improves and the economy improves, Trump can certainly try to take credit. He will claim credit, and maybe it will help him to some degree. But I think you see the theme, which is we're barely more than 3 months out, and the failures have compounded and been so outrageous that we essentially need miracles. I say, if Trump personally cures cancer, and, cancer is so many different things. If Trump cures all cancers between now and November, okay. But on the issues, there's really a limited window for Donald Trump to be able to do anything. Now, in terms of dirty tricks, there's a lot. What if William Barr announces an investigation, maybe into Joe Biden, maybe into Hunter Biden in October? Might not even work at this point. I don't know that people will fall for it. People may see it as once again like the Hillary Clinton thing all over again, but that might help Trump. There are at this point people willing to essentially crawl over a broken glass to vote Trump out. Not everybody, of course, but there is a high level of motivation. I don't even know if announcing an investigation would work. Could Trump engineer some kind of backroom peace deal with somebody and tout it as a victory? The grand deal with China, a grand deal with North Korea that's believable, or the Taliban. Maybe. I just don't know. We talk about domestic politics is what works. And right now, people are dealing with the virus and the economic fallout. I just don't know that it would be enough to change opinion. So to be perfectly honest, and this is why it gets very, as I said earlier this week, a desperate Trump is a dangerous Trump. Trump's best path to victory right now is suppressing the vote and trying to rig it in his favor, which is why we have to be so vigilant on that game. We have to stop the voter roll purges. We have to stop closures of voting places. We have to prevent these paramilitaries from continuing to be in cities until November and being used to intimidate voters out of voting. That's Trump's best bet right now. I think he probably knows it. And that's why he's talking about vote by mail and violence in cities, because he's essentially giving up on all these other things. That is why we have to remain focused and prevent him from using that in order to win this election. We have a great bonus show for you today. Remember that you can get the daily audio podcast every single day for free on any of your favorite podcasting platforms. If you're an iTunes gal or a Spotify guy or whatever, it's widely available. Make sure you're getting the podcast daily, and we will see you on the bonus show.